Big T and Little T, a Star Wars podcast. We are talking about this is episode 60. Can't believe that. That's awesome. And I'm Todd Hoffman, and you're listening to Big T and Little T, a Star Wars podcast. We are going to be talking about today Bad Batch episode 8 reunion. Trent couldn't join me today, but he definitely enjoyed this episode as well. So been kind of a slow week on the geek side, but we got to spend some family time this weekend. We got to see Peter Rabbit 2 in the theater, so that was a lot of fun. And then we did some putt-putt golf, and Trent is the only one that really got a hole-in-one, so Trent was super excited for that. But yeah, it's been a slow geek week. I am finally going to build a little bit more on my Stormtrooper costume, which I'm super excited about. So I'm looking to do a heavy weapons trooper. So I'm super stoked to start that. And so I've been getting prepped and ready to kind of start that journey and try to get everything fabricated for that. So essentially all it is a backpack, and that will give me another kind of outfit. So I'm super excited for that. So yeah, that's pretty much on the week stuff. Today, Tuesday, another Lego Masters. And Lego Masters, if you're not aware, is a building competition and super fun. It's on Fox. And this week was like a hat challenge. So they had to do kind of a fashion thing for hats. And yeah, it was cool. Legos are not really used for fashion, and so that was the challenge there. But it's funny how it all works is because Dave and Richard, who Dave was is a Chicago guy, so I'm a little partial to him. And we had him on our WSTR, my sister podcast. And yeah, so if you want to check that out, I think it's episode 171. But we interviewed Dave last year, and he's a local Chicago guy. So super cool. Love seeing him there. And they actually won last week, and then this week, newsflash, they fell to the bottom. And so that's kind of how this whole thing works, is one week you're doing great, next week you're almost to elimination. But the other gentlemen that were in contention for elimination was Paris and Matu, and they were, again, they struggled a little bit on the timing thing the last couple weeks, and so theirs wasn't really a time thing, but it was just the stability thing with the headdress and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, it was a pretty cool episode. Not my favorite, because it's not, but it was still kind of cool to see this challenge. Yeah, it was definitely interesting. But yeah, they are the third. I think it's Paris and Mantu are the third people to leave the show. So we're getting down there. It's getting down to elimination. But next week the gold brick is back in play. So we love watching Lego Masters is pretty cool. So yeah, you should check that out. I think it is on Fox on Tuesday night. So definitely give that a watch. All right, let's just dive right into our main topic today, which is we are talking about episode 8 of Bad Batch, which is Reunion. So again, lots going on. We're at the halfway point of the season, so there's going to be 16 episodes. This is episode 8, and it definitely delivered. The official description for this episode is the Batch find themselves cornered on treacherous terrain. Essentially, they are back on the junk planet still. After last week's episode, essentially Rex helped them out, get the inhibitor chip out of their skulls. Battle Scars was that title, and it's both, metaphorically, both physically and mentally. There's a lot going on there if you want to get real deep. But essentially, this one is Reunion, and we definitely get 2 reunions in a sense. And so we'll get through that. But essentially, the first thing we see is, speaking about reunions, we get to see Crosshair. Crosshair is back in contention here, and so he's back in Camino, and Admiral Rampart. It's great Imperial name. He is heading up. Tarkin kind of left and left him in charge, and he's the genius behind, like, hey, let's just have the clones train our recruits. And so he wants to get rid of, Clone Force 99, which is the Bad Batch. And obviously the Caminos, Lala Masu is, hey, those are, great assets, and we don't want them destroyed, but Rampart's not hearing it, and essentially Crosshair is given the mission to go seek and destroy, essentially, and so he needs a small contingent of clone troopers to help him out with that, and so that kind of sets up the episode that they're going to go back to this junk planet, Braca. I don't know why I have such a hard time with Star Wars planets and character names. They should roll off the tongue, but they don't. It's Barakar or Baraka. I don't know. Whatever. It's a planet. It's cool. It's a junk planet with we get to see this in Jedi Fallen Order with Cal Kestis is the first level you play in Jedi Fallen Order. So we get to see that later, but now we're going backwards. That's what Star Wars does. And so essentially we are just looking at them coming into the planet. So now we go back to the Bad Batch. They're having fun. Wrecker is teaching Omega some demolitions, as one does, with some time. And so he's trying to teach her what the charges are and how to defuse charges. And Omega fails, and it doesn't explode. It just releases some smoke, and Wrecker thinks that is hilarious. Again, the little tease at the end of episode 7 was that we got to see the scrappers on basically a skiff, and they're just kind of looking, and that's who essentially call in to the Empire to know of their location. So the Empire is coming, but then as they're kind of scouting around this junk planet, they notice them, and Bad Batch tried to take care of them. They're able to kind of commandeer that, but they think it's just a patrol, and there could be more, and they want to see if they can essentially if they can scrap some scrap from the Venture class kind of destroyer, and see if they can get some more credits, because that is what they need to survive here. It's all about Imperial credits, and so they need a little money. So they kind of go on a treasure hunt, in a sense, where they're looking for items in the artillery, and it's pretty cool. They're looking, and Wrecker really loves all the explosives, and he pretty much kisses a proton torpedo, which is fun. It's just a light-hearted moment in the series, so that's pretty cool. And then they essentially grab all the scrap that they can, get kind of like a transport, and get everything set up so they can basically haul this back to their ship and get some scrap for either Sid, or trying to essentially use the skiff of these scrappers to kind of get their haul to their ship. So, but yeah, they want to essentially sell it on the black market to get some Imperial credits. Well, of course, that would be a boring episode, and if they just saw scrapping, and we would just, it's like what's the American Pickers. This is like Bad Patch Pickers or whatever, and they're just scrapping and finding, like, hey, I found this, and they can tell the value and what it is. No, this is not that show. So essentially, Crosshair shows up with a battalion. Yeah, probably a battalion of clone troopers. But he's got a small squad of clone troopers with him, and they're on the hunt for the Bad Batch. So again, Crosshair is a sharpshooter, and so almost takes one of them out, and they're kind of pinned. So this is where they have the clone troopers kind of get him cornered, and Crosshair knows the tactics of Bad Batch, and they kind of have like a standoff. And they're able to escape and essentially distract Crosshair enough to kind of separate themselves. So they go through essentially a big part of the engine, and they kind of trying to get out, but because of where they're at, they can't really get out because Crosshair kind of doubles back and knows that they're coming out of these engines, and they're in a proverbial pickle. So essentially they have some of the ordnance still with them, but not enough. So what they decide to do is that they're stuck, and essentially Crosshair says, hey, fire up those engines, because while Tech was doing his thing, he essentially got the power routed and got it functioning for the ship as much as he can. And so now a clone trooper is at the bridge doing his little thing and essentially starts the engines. Obviously, as big as the engines are, they take a little bit to get warmed up. The Bad Batch team has to really think, and so they have a little ordnance left and essentially set charges on so it can create enough of distraction and space for them to get out. So that's the plan. They have this essentially kind of standoff with Crosshair where they're pinned, and they have to wait till the engine goes online. It goes online. The detonators discharge, and it essentially shifts the engine enough, and it's firing, and it fires right onto the clone troopers and Crosshair in their position. And Crosshair gets burnt and tells the trooper to shut him off. And he is severely injured, but it gives enough time and space for the Bad Batch to escape. And so now